Hi ladies, I'm back today to share with you a couple of snippet rolls that I made while I was on my vacation. It was easy to take a couple of bags of scraps and some glue and a little bit of fabric, and I was able to work on these just kind of at your own pace. It's not a big project, you kind of work away at it, and they're actually a lot of fun. So the first one I made was more the traditional type. It's on a cardboard roll that had ribbon on it before that I saved, and it's about 2.5 inches wide, and I finished the top off with some laces and trims and doilies, and I did a rolled rose in this fabric, and the bottom I finished with a bit of a trim and a doily as well. And then what I did was I made a little stick pin to stick in it to hold it from unraveling. And then I created this one on some cotton fabric that I had taken with me. And I will just unroll her and let you have a look and see what I've done. I sort of did different sections. I know that I use my snippets a lot on pages in my journals. I also make altered paper clips with them and use them almost like some of them like a tab on a page in a journal, with this sort of sticking out the side of the page. So I kind of made them with those kind of thoughts in mind, and I made colors that are common colors that I craft with. I added beads and used appliques and doilies and little bits of whatever was in the bags that I took. And it was kind of fun because going through them you find little bits of laces that of course you haven't seen in a long time, because they were just a little bit that was left over, and you popped it in your bag and kind of waited for that moment when you were going to need it for a snippet. Sometimes I find though I can't find the smaller laces that I'm thinking of, so I thought this would be a really good way of making the snippets up ahead of time and having them ready to just cut, make that embellishment for a project. So this is a bit of a satiny material, same fabric actually that I made the bold rose with, and just added some doilies and little bits. These are some butterflies made with some flower appliques, and then I just added some beads and wire for their bodies and antenna. And some of them, what I did was I left this unglued, so I can cut in between here, and that will allow me, and I can cut there, so that would be an embellishment ready to go. And then this one, when I cut there and I cut here, this embellishment will have this little piece on the bottom that can hang out the bottom of a page or off the end of the paper clip, or sort of like a small dangle. That's why I didn't glue it down, I left it. And I can add more charms, I can add other little pieces to it if when I'm adding it to a project I feel it needs something more. I can add in one of my little beaded butterflies, and just at the time that I'm going to use it. I did have some little crocheted butterflies with me, and so I used them. Added some flat back pearls and some little colored rhinestones. And this happened to be in the bag. I guess I had made it for something and it got tossed into one of the scrappy bags, so I found it and I thought I'll just use it as a center for that flower. So the holder itself, like I said, it had ribbon on it. This is plastic actually, and then I covered the cardboard ends with fabric and then laces and trims, and so it's all finished on the inside as well, and then on the top. And so this just, can roll back on here, and it's ready for me to use whenever I need a piece of it. So I'll just move that one up here, and I'm going to pull this one in. Now this one, I finished the first one and had taken the backing, cotton backing fabric to do it with. And then I needed something else to do because it kind of, went along quicker than my 2 weeks that we were out. So I decided to look and see what I had on hand, and I had some other little pieces of fabric and some pieces of lace, and I had a bunch of gauze in the first aid kit in the RV, a lot more than I probably would ever use, so I decided to use that. And so this one I made a little differently. I did make, it again is a spool from ribbon, and I did leave the bottom cardboard bit on and covered it with paper and a doily. But this one was quite puffy and a bit higher than the actual spool height. So I thought, well, I just won't put a top on it. I'll just leave it. It looks really pretty because you see all the different sort of colors, and you see bits of doily and the edging and the gauze, and it really looks very, very pretty, I thought. So I just leave it like that. And on the center of the peg, I just added a little bit of a doily, some trim, a paper flower, and then I did a little butterfly out of applique and some beads and some sequins that were on another piece that was in my scrappy bag. I just took them off of that and used them underneath the little green beads on the wings. Might be hard to see, but that's what sparkles. So I was really pleased how this one turned out. The snippet roll, the first one I made, is about 2.5 inches wide, and this one is about 1 3/4 inches wide, so a little bit narrower, and so it can come in handy for when you want something a little bit smaller. This one I just put a little pin in there that I got in my needle book from Amy, and this one I will just start to unroll it and show you. This was a piece of material and lace I had, and I just used the two together there to make the backing, and then added the applique and the beads. This is done on the gauze, and you can see the gauze in the background. And for most of it I just pleated it and then added what I wanted on top. This one, again, this is sort of that dangle idea. This will be snipped behind here, and this would be a piece here, and then this would be another one here, and that will dangle down the bottom. So I just left it, it's not attached, but it rolls in really easily. Doilies, appliques, little flowers that I made into the butterflies. And I like the gauze in the background because it's kind of, it's fraying a bit, and it looks, I like the look of it. It looks really nice, and it's very thin. So these will, even though there's some height with some of the flowers that I've added, it still doesn't make it too fat to use with embellishments. It's twirling a bit here. This one is, I really like this one, is some lace that I gathered up. Just some flat lace that I had, and then this was a little butterfly that was in my scraps. Must have been the last one of the yard I had bought, and so I just did some slow stitching on it with French knots to add it to here, and then I did a tail on it in pink and white beads that sort of runs down the length. I thought that looked really pretty. One in mauves. This one is a combination of some gauze that I started with and did a butterfly applique on there, a different butterfly applique, and some little pearl strand that again was in the bag, a little bit left, and then some little flat back rhinestones. And then I sort of had this bit that was sequins, and I did that as the tail on the butterfly that I extended down onto this blue fabric that I had left. And then I cut these little bows that were on a lace piece out, fussy cut them out and added them onto the tail of the butterfly, and then added a little blue rhinestone in them. And I thought that would be one there. And that's long enough that could go down part of, like on the edge of a page in a journal. And this part here would sort of stick out the side. So I had a lot of fun using up my scraps and putting different pieces together. The lace over top of the gauze looked quite nice too. I like the look of that. Appliques. Here was a little piece of material I had left that I just pleated and added some trims to. And getting near the end. This is all the gauze that I was using, and this one I just put some lace and pearls down the center of it and a couple little pieces of trim. But I really like how that looked too. And this one, and then there was a piece of material that I started with that I just pleated and added some appliques to, and that's how that one looks. Like you can see, it's just a short peg on that, so it doesn't allow for a wide, 2.5 inch. I could have probably made a different one, but I just thought, I'm going to use what I have. And so again, there's that little doily at the top. So the little spider bits of a doily, and then a little bit of trim, that little paper flower, and then that made that cute little butterfly sitting on the flower. And then, like I said, when this one wraps up, I just love how it looks. I actually think after making this one that I like the look of this even more than the actual full snippet roll that has a top and sort of a cap on the top so you don't see it. I really like how this looks. I'm not making you dizzy wrapping this up, but you can see how you just see bits and pieces of the laces and the gauze and some of the color. And I think it turned out really, really pretty. And again, just that little pin in there because there's all that thickness, so it's easy to pop that in there. And then you have this beautiful little roll of yumminess. So there's my projects that I wanted to share with you, the 2 little snippet rolls and the different ideas. And I hope that you try them. They're a lot of fun, and you can use up a lot of little scraps. You don't need anything big to do them with. And I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.